Greetings, YouTube. So, there's some legislation in Louisiana that would require anyone applying to the position of a presidential candidate to have an affidavit proving that they have been a resident of their state for 14 years and a birth certificate to prove that they are, in fact, a U.S. citizen that was born on U.S. soil. Now, I'm 46. I've seen quite a few presidential elections come and go. And never, prior to the current administration, our current president, Barack Obama, have I ever heard anyone, ever, even question whether a presidential candidate was or was not born in the United States. Not once. The terms birth certificate never, ever came up. You see, all the previous presidential candidates, all of them that were elected, all of those people, they were all white. And I firmly and completely believe that the reason there is so much consternation, so much chaos and mayhem around this issue is that Obama is not. Only 75% of Americans believe that Obama was born in the United States and he's a legal U.S. citizen. That's depressing. But it gets worse. Among Republicans, that drops to 60%. 14 states are currently considering similar legislation as to what's currently being discussed in Louisiana. This just stuns me. There's a psychological term known as cognitive dissonance. It's the concept that you are holding two completely opposing ideas in your mind at the same time, and that you have a conflict between these two. So on the one hand, duly elected president. On the other hand, he's a black man! That seems to be just having some people lose their crap. And they're not willing to admit it. They're not willing to step forward and say, I am not comfortable with this. So they latch firmly onto the concept that it must be a conspiracy. It must be some kind of shenanigans that were pulled on the American people. Now, there is a psychological condition. It's very rare. Sometimes it's brought around by accident. Sometimes it's brought about by a situation similar to schizophrenia, where an individual will suddenly have a break with reality on some level. This particular level is their ability to make emotional connections to memories. So they start to see people from their lives from prior to this break as imposters, even pets as imposters. Because when they think of these people or this animal, their brain says, that's my mom. But then they're no longer able to make the emotional connection with that memory. So their brain says, that's my mom, but it doesn't feel like my mom. I don't have that connection to my mom. And so your brain protects itself. And by doing this, it tells that person that that individual over there, that must be an imposter. That reconciles the conflict inside that person's head. That person is now okay with the fact that that person over there is an imposter, because it means that their memory of their mother is perfect, inviolate. It hasn't changed. Their memory of their mother is still emotional, and it's perfect. Even though they're looking at their mother right in the eye. But because they can no longer make that emotional connection to that memory, that is an imposter. Now, interestingly, some of these people can talk to their mother on the phone, and it's fine. But as soon as they see them in person, they think, oh, that's an imposter. And I know of one horrible case where a man was convinced that Not only was his father an imposter, but his father was a robot, and he could not convince anyone that his father was a robot. So he decided that he would show the world that his father was in fact a robot with a claw hammer. His father wasn't a robot. There were no circuits in his brain. He looked for them. But there you have the best example I can think of, real visceral example of cognitive dissonance. Two things that they did not want to believe or could not reconcile, and so they came up with something in the middle that made no sense whatsoever. But people aren't imposters. Barack Obama is an American citizen. There was no inside job on 9/11. These are all examples of cognitive dissonance. And I really wish that the birther movement would just dry up and blow away. Because we have got real issues in America, folks. People are hurting. There are forces in America trying to undermine our liberties, our economy, our way of life, democracy itself. We don't need this absurdity.